Hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today I want to talk a little bit about our 600-day logging reward, which is Primed Shred. I finally managed to get my hands on this puppy, though I am like 3 weeks late because I just missed a bunch of days, so I had to wait a little bit longer, but I finally got it earlier this week. And let's start it off by looking at the original Shred, which is a Nightmare mod that uses 11 mod capacity and has a V polarity, and it provides you with 30% bonus fire rate and 1.2 meters of punch through. So it's basically a combination of Speed Trigger and Metal Auger. It doesn't provide as much fire rate as Speed Trigger, but it does provide some punch through, though once again not as much as Metal Auger. You generally don't see people using Metal Auger, mainly because it doesn't add any damage, and 2 meters of punch through is kind of an overkill for the vast majority of situations that you get yourself into. You will see people using Speed Trigger though, especially on bows, because it just allows you to fire the bow much faster. You are going to use it on some rifles as well, but for the vast majority of rifles that we have in the game, Speed Trigger just adds too much fire rate and makes them very ammo inefficient. Which is why people like to use Shred, because it adds both punch through and fire rate, but it doesn't overkill it on either of them like Speed Trigger or Metal Auger. And as a result, it suits a lot of the primary rifles far more than Speed Trigger or Metal Auger. Now let's take a look at Primed Shred, which also has a V polarity, but it uses 16 mod capacity instead, and if you rank it up all the way, which is by the way going to cost you about 2 million credits and 40,000 endo, it's going to provide you with 55% bonus fire rate and 2.2 meters of punch through, so it basically introduces the overkill from both Speed Trigger and Metal Auger. Which is why you will see me running Carrier Prime in all the clips, because the first weapon I format to put on Primed Shred was Soma Prime, and I wasn't able to finish a single exterminate mission without running out of ammo if I wasn't using Carrier or just straight up ammo mutation. Now there's a fair bit of controversy surrounding this mod, mainly because it's locked behind those 600 days, but from what I've read, it's mostly just entitlement and bullshittery, to be honest, because once you read into like the Reddit posts and the forum threads, it's just a case of they have something that I don't, and I really don't like that, mum, so I'm gonna bitch about it, and that's pretty much it. They try to sugarcoat it in different bullshit, which is kind of funny sometimes. It's like, well, this is very discouraging for newer players. Oh, is it really now? I wasn't aware that the first thing new players do when they open up their arsenal is go, yikes, I wonder if there's a primed version of this Nightmare mode I don't have. It's just a non-issue because we've all been playing this game, some of us for literally years, without using Primed Shred, and we were absolutely fine. Also, no one is forcing you to log in, it's just a reward for being a loyal player. You just log in a lot and you get this as a reward. No one is forcing you to log in. I swear to God, Warframe has some of the best drama queens when it comes to Reddit and forum posts. But anyway, let's finally jump into the simulacrum and try it out. The builds I'm going to be testing here are pretty much the same. I just swapped Primed Shred for normal Shred, and I then swapped that for Speed Trigger. So first up, we have Primed Shred versus a group of 20 level 100 butchers, just to kind of get a feel of how much the punch through actually helps when it comes to clearing like smaller clusters of enemies, and you can see that it is doing rather well. And let's also test it versus a level 100 Heavy Gunner and a level 100 Bombard. You can see the Heavy Gunner went down pretty fast, but that's because I'm using Corrosive, and Heavy Gunners have Ferrite Armor, which takes extra damage from Corrosive damage. Next up, we have the normal Nightmare version of the Shred, so the one that adds 30% fire rate and 1.2 meters of punch through versus 20 level 100 Butchers. And to be honest, the difference wasn't that noticeable. You can feel the lower fire rate a little bit, but the punch through is a non-issue there. It is of course slower when it comes to single target damage because you're just not firing as many bullets as you do with the primed version, but it's not like your weapon that struggles versus level 60 enemies with the normal Shred is suddenly gonna kill 40 level enemies with the primed version. And finally, we have Speed Trigger, which doesn't add any punch through, but it does add an arseload of fire rate. It adds 60, which is 5 more than even the primed version of the Shred. And the 5% extra fire rate you get from it isn't noticeable whatsoever. And finally, we have the Heavy Gunner and the Bombard, which went down about as fast as they did with Primed Shred. Now, if you looked at all of these clips and went, oh my god, Primed Shred is seriously better, it's like disgustingly better, you should probably start using Speed Trigger a lot more, because I swapped the clips around, so the supposed Primed Shred clips were actually using Speed Trigger, and the Speed Trigger clips were actually using Primed Shred. Just to show you that not having Primed Shred is actually not that big of a deal. Because while having punch through and 2.2 meters of punch through at that is definitely nice, and you will sometimes notice it when you're firing into like a narrow corridor, it is not like groundbreaking, especially if you're like me and you like to go for headshots, because the chances of two enemies lining up perfectly so you can headshot them with one bullet are almost non-existent. Now, don't get me wrong, the mod is definitely nice to have, and it is a really cool reward for those of us who stuck with the game and managed to log in for 600 separate days since the login rework, but you also have to realize that this is a big investment. It takes a lot of credits and endo to max it out, and out of all the weapons that I want to use this on, which is not many, only one of them doesn't need additional format to fit it on. If I were you, I wouldn't think about Primed Shred as just a better version of the Shred. I would think about it as sort of a better version of the Speed Trigger. Because that's essentially what it is. You don't have the balanced stats of Shred that don't make the weapon fire too fast and don't give you excessive punch through. It is Speed Trigger and Metal Auger in one very expensive mod. And personally, I'm only gonna be using this on weapons where I'm already using Speed Trigger. I'm not putting this on any weapons where I have Shred. I'm actually gonna remove it from Soma Prime because it makes it so damn ammo inefficient. So it's definitely a cool mod, but it is not required by any means. And that's pretty much it for the video. So I thank you very much for watching as always, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.